Hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of Midweek Matters. Now, for those of you joining us on YouTube, you'll notice a little bit of a different setup, and for good reason as well, Charlie.
Yeah, short-term setup because we're recording something very special next week, actually. It's going to end up being a 10-part series that we drop over the off-season. I'm so excited for it.
Me too.
You know?
Me too. We'll I reckon just leave it there.
Yes. It's going to be big.
It's going to be big and very interesting, very insightful. I'm pumped to be a part of it as well.
Yeah. Well, how are you though, Jimmy? Good?
Yeah, I'm going all right, mate. Yeah, going good. Excited tonight. First game of five-a-side in a long time, so hopefully the hip stays in place.
So you played local sports. I played local sport last night. I played basketball.
Did you?
Yeah. And it was embarrassing. It was like humiliating. We got absolutely destroyed. Our team. We played we were sort of more of a team of sort of skinnier guys like me. We ended up going against basically a team of like footy players and just got bullied. I got elbowed in the back and I'm like...
I thought basketball's supposed to be non-contact.
Yeah, but it's still a little bit of contact. But even they going for rebounds and all this sort of stuff. We just got dominated, losing by like 40 points. Like I'm going into it, I'm like feeling good about life, feeling good about my place in the world. And then it was quite humiliating, to be honest.
Well, I haven't kicked a football or a soccer ball, as is known to our viewers here in Australia, in a long time. So
could be a humbling experience for you.
I think it will be. It's a group. We're not playing. It's not competitive. It's just a group of lads that get together.
Yeah,
and play.
Yeah. You probably need a bit of humbling. You have been a bit of a diva lately, I must admit. Even with this setup, you didn't want to look face to face. You need a little bit of an angle. Because you're becoming precious. Would you agree?
I don't know about becoming precious. I just think the devil's in the detail, Charlie. And
have you always been precious?
No, I know what works and what doesn't now.
Okay.
And I don't like sitting the opposite. It's like an interrogation.
Yeah.
Speaking of diva, though, just got coffee from our irregular coffee place. Thought, I'll grab a bit of toast as well, because we just did an interview. Not quite sure on the Trades Description Act whether or not that was toast.
Was it not toasted enough for you?
It was more like warm bread.
Do you want to reveal
peanut butter on warm bread?
Yeah, that's not what you want. That, to be honest,
I'm not going to reveal the cafe in question.
I'm happy to if you want.
No. I don't want to.
I'll just say it's not Morris, which is our other local cafe here, which is great. It's not Morris.
Not Morris.
Morris shuts at 3, a bit lazy. That's the only...
Nah, I mean, I get it. Like, you don't... as a business owner...
Yeah. We need to be home by 3:30. Just stay up until 4, mate.
But it's like, well, how many customers are you going to have through after post 3 o'clock? It's like, well...
they missed out on 3 just then.
Yeah, they sure did. But I wouldn't be complaining about... It is... Obviously, everybody's different. How they have your toast, you don't want it cremated. There's nothing worse than cremated toast.
Yeah.
So that's the very extreme end of the scale.
Yeah. So this is what I mean, everybody. This is what I mean. It's this sort of like whinging and
soggy warm bread with peanut butter on versus the cremated toast.
Yeah.
But that said, I do think the cafe in question need to review the process of offering toast when it's clearly not.
Well. You also weren't happy with their almond milk as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, but I don't think that's not just me, Charlie. I reckon if you look at the almond milk consumers, that they would. I'm not going to name the brand, but people know what I'm talking about. They look for that and they go, they sell or they use that type of milk in this establishment, right. So I'm going to go with the almond, and if they don't, it can be a bit like, for those that are affected by dairy, maybe switch to the soy or go long black, no milk.
Anyway, I think it's a bit boring, to be honest. Who cares about your almond milk choice? I've got something actually quite interesting to tell you about.
All right,
I've been waiting to tell you about this.
Let me, listeners, this better be good.
Well, so I was up in Brisbane for work over the weekend. Finals footy, so we're doing a bit of travelling. So I was up in Brisbane for the Broncos game. And I worked with Aaron Woods on Friday night, and then me and him went for a couple of drinks post-call with a couple of the other people that work at Triple M. So I had a few drinks and then went back to the hotel. It wasn't that big an evening. Like, it was a late night, but it wasn't that big an evening. So I was home at a reasonable time, sort of packed my bag and then went off to bed. But I sleep naked, and I'm staying at this really nice hotel and I've just gone to bed naked, everything's all good. And then about, I don't know what time it was, but I sort of come to and I'm in the hallway completely naked with nothing on me, no phone, no access pass to get back into into my thing. So I think I've sort of walked, and then maybe I've realised in my half sleep stage that I'm like in my hallway. So and then I don't really know what to do. I'm just sort of standing there naked in the hallway, panicking, and at this same hotel, all the Channel 9 staff were staying there. All the NRL people were staying there. These are all people I work, like colleagues of the industry. There were, and then other people at work just at Triple M, and I'm just standing there completely butt naked in the hallway. So I got myself cupped at this stage, and then I just sort of had to figure out what to do, and went downstairs to reception. Tried to go through the fire escape, so I'm not like on the lift. The fire escape didn't work, so I had to ride the lift down fully naked, and then go up to reception and ask for some help. And it was funny. And then do
you know what time this was?
It was late. It would have been like 3-4 in the morning. And then so at reception they asked me like my name and my stuff, and I'm standing there butt naked. And the worst part was they didn't have anything to like cover me up down there. So then me and the receptionist, luckily it was a guy as well, had to ride the lift back up to my level. And it's 360 mirrors in the lift. So I'm just like, there's just 4 of my asses everywhere. And do you know what made it worse? The hotel guy, he wasn't like laughing. It was like a disappointed, like he's seen this before. And also questioning me because I've got that really shit diamond tattoo on my thigh. So he's probably like, who's this weirdo with the diamond tattoo who's rocked up butt naked? And then we had to go via level 1, grab a towel, and then we went back into my room. And he made me get my ID. And then what made matters worse, it took me 10 minutes to find my ID because I couldn't find my wallet anywhere. So he's just standing there and he's getting visibly frustrated at this point. But thankfully avoided all the 9 staff, all the NRL staff.
That has so much potential to be,
career ending.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't be telling this story.
Can I just say, thinking on my feet,
yeah.
Normally in the hotels there's a phone around the lifts, the elevators.
I didn't see. It was quite a fancy hotel, so I don't know if like a phone would ruin the aesthetic.
Did you know where Aaron Woods was staying?
He was not on my level, but Dave, who I work with, was on my level. But I had no idea what room he was. I would have much rather knocked on his door and dealt with the Dave issue than the reception issue.
Or Dave's like, Charlie, I'm not. So I'm misread. You've misread that comment, Charlie.
Yep. So that was a pretty low point. But also at the same time, I was excited to come tell you on this podcast.
Bet you were excited.
But anyway.
Checking your arse out in the mirror. Whoa! Is that what it looks like?
But anyway.
I didn't have as an exciting weekend as that.
No.
Although we did go up to Newcastle on the bus.
That's right.
On the way back. That was fun.
Good.
But Matt, clothes are on.
Yeah, clothes are on. Smart.
Yeah.
Good thinking. You were not in your birthday suit for your birthday. You were fully dressed.
That's correct, Charlie.
But anyway, we should get along with the footy soon. But just before we do, Rockbusters, Jimmy.
Oh, yes.
A lot of people got your one as well.
Yes. I believe you were saying that element of confusion.
There was, because it turned out that Gordon Chan Kum Tong is the exact same sort of description that you give. So we had a lot of people guessing that because I didn't realise, but Chan is apparently Japanese for child. I haven't checked that, but I had a few listeners, contact me and guess that, and they were a bit annoyed saying, but basically it's the same thing. But Luke Mayo was our winner. So he got the Tui socks, Jimmy's pair of Tui socks. This week, maybe give out Tui's hat because a lot of people have been liking the
Luke
Brandon
Mayo,
Smith.
That's
Mayo, yeah, ends in OH. Yeah. Are you okay with that name?
I mean, yeah. Mayo.
Yeah, maybe that's just his Instagram name though. You don't know, do you?
So not his
real name.
Not his real name, just your Instagram name.
Yeah, but it's a good name. I like. I've got no problem with the name Luke Mayo.
There's probably there's a Rockbuster with him.
Yeah, that'd be a great one. Yeah.
Look, Mayo.
But the answer was Tavita Pangai Jr. wasn't it?
Tea, as in you got your brew, your cup of tea, your type of biscuit, Vita, tea, Vita, Pangai. The one instrument. I can't even remember what the clue was now.
No,
Pan, as in Pangai, junior kid. So for those of you that chose a different player, unlucky.
Yes, and the clue this week, Jimmy, I've got 2, obviously. So I'll go, the first one for you, I'll go the top of my field and the top of the world. the top of my field and the top of the world. Sorry, I should say the top of my field and I'm the top of the world.
The top of my field.
Yeah, and I'm the top of the world.
I'm the top of the world.
That's the one for you, and the one for every...
Hang on, like Everest. Is it Everest? Top of the world. I'm on top of the world. Top of the world. Everest.
No Everest.
Top of my field.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Have a think about that one.
I will.
And the one for everyone back home, I've made the same mistake. I've forgotten to buy the sausages.
I've only gone and done it again. Those bloody sausages.
So yeah, that is a that's the one for listeners.
Forgotten to buy. Oh God, the listeners. Good luck.
But Jimmy, there's plenty more exciting things to go. We've waffled on for far too long now. Let's get on with the footy with this.
How do you feel, Jimmy? Let's find out. Thanks to Tooies.
Jimmy, we've got to start with the finals. They kick off again tomorrow night with the Melbourne Storm against the Sydney Roosters, and we'll start there. But first of all, how do you feel, Jimmy? I feel like a Tooies or two. Fantastic beer.
Absolutely, it is.
And Friday night, you're going to be in Melbourne for this game?
I sure am. I'm really looking forward to it. Look, let's start with the Storm. I don't think their big game players can be not players poorly, but be as quiet and have that same level of influence, that low level of influence on a game of football. I'm speaking to the likes of Grant. Sorry, I'm speaking to the likes of Grant, Munster, Hughes. That they can't be as quiet. Look, I think as well, last week's game, obviously the horrendous injury to Ryan Pappenhausen. So I think during that moment, it was really deflating for the team, like really deflating. The result had already gone, but when a type of injury like that happens, it affects your teammates. There's no two ways about it that it does. Now, had the worst been confirmed, i.e. a compound fracture and another extended period of time away, I think that would have really taken the wind out of the sails of Melbourne Storm, and that balloon would have been completely popped. But the fact that it's good news, it's more about it's more about what didn't happen. So they'll be in good spirits. The fact that their mate Ryan Pappenhausen will be back with them for pre-season by all accounts, which is amazing news for Ryan, but also more importantly, what it happened. Sorry, not necessarily more importantly, but importantly for this week, it gives the Storm a much needed boost after the demolition job that the Broncos did on them. I think their middle forwards they couldn't quite match it with the Broncos. They did a fantastic job, and then obviously Reece Walsh in that 10-minute period just tore them apart. But from the Melbourne Storm point of view, I don't think they can play as bad. They're back home. It's going to be a good atmosphere down there around the city of Melbourne with all the things happening with the AFL. And that's why I think they're going to win. The Roosters, they come down. Look, sorry, just let me flip back to the Melbourne game against the Brisbane Broncos, because the reason why I'm bringing it up is they were beaten almost after 50 minutes, and I think deep down they knew it. So that's not the same as being involved in a game like the Roosters, where it went down to the wire. So which taxes you more? It's not necessarily getting pumped. It's being involved in those close games. So physically, mentally, and emotionally, the Storm. Look, I'm not going to accuse them of putting the cue on the rack, but there is subconsciously an element of like, well, we're done here. The collisions aren't as intense. Like the emotion isn't as high. The drop off isn't as significant. So that's why I think the Storm have a good opportunity to regroup, boosted by the positive news around Ryan Pappenhausen versus the Roosters, who for 80 minutes, every single moment were in a battle. They didn't know what the outcome was going to be. There was no opportunity to rest. They came from behind. They found a way to get the victory. They were gutsy. They were amazing. Kiri, Tedesco, huge plays. They were already under, extreme adversity. The run that they've been on, the players missing, and then, they go down to Melbourne, and from the team that took the field of play last weekend, there is now no Billy Smith. He's confirmed that he broke his jaw during that game.
Played through it as well. Crazy.
Just insane from him. He's had a fantastic transition back into first grade. He's been amazing for them. Swalihi gone with the concussion. Shout out to the Sydney Roosters for making that decision. That is huge. That's a magnificent... sorry, I shouldn't say... Not magnificent.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's a huge change in the culture around how we manage concussion, etc. So shout out to them for having the balls to do that, because it's not an easy call for Joseph and it's not an easy call for the club. In previous years, you would have been told you were soft and you're getting out there. There's no two ways about that. That in yesteryear, that's the direction from his teammates and his club. And then Joey Manu, obviously, with that hamstring. So, look, I know the Storm are missing a few as well, but, for me, it's the Roosters have been gutsy, but I just can't see them getting the victory.
Just on those Roosters players who are out, the players they bring in are really experienced footballers. Paul Momirovski, who I think many years ago made his debut in a prelim final, and he's played in big games at Penrith. He's played in a lot of big games. He's someone who you can bring in who's got that experience. Like, obviously, he's not a Suaalii or a Joey Manu level player, but he's played in big games. Corey Allen, he's played Origin before.
Yeah, look, Charlie, I get it, but the Roosters, like the real strikers, has gone. If they go down and get the victory, this, I'll be the first one to congratulate them, but I just don't see a way how without that strike, like Swally, he was on fire that first 40 minutes. He was amazing. Like, say, Billy Smith, back into first grade. Doing so both their centre partnership has gone. Like Manu, we all know what he brings.
Would you be tempted to put Angus Crichton in the centres?
Good shout.
I mean, this is just the team that's been named. It might reshuffle. You don't know.
Charlie's good thinking that, because he was he had a great game when he came onto the field. I think he's a big game player. Big name, takes a lot of room up on the salary cap. Obviously very experienced. They probably need him to play 80 minutes or play longer.
Yeah,
they've got. What is it? Wong and
Siwa Wong and Nat Butcher are the two outside backs.
Yeah, I'd find a way to get Crichton on the field for longer.
Well, I said outside backs. I meant second rowers.
I'd find a way to get Crichton on the field for the overwhelming majority of the game.
The other thing I want to talk about was Nick Meaney. So Nick Meaney didn't have his best game against the Broncos, and I wonder if part of that was maybe the psychological in his subconscious that Ryan Papenhuyzen's here. And I think I'm probably a couple games away from dropping out of this team.
Yeah, it could be.
Or dropping to the bench anyway. And now does he almost, not consciously, but like subconsciously breathe a bit of a sigh of relief and go, all right, this spot's mine. I can just focus in on my role again and not need to worry about Ryan Papenhuyzen coming back into the team.
Yeah, I think you're right. So 3 games left potentially for the Melbourne Storm, and it's his fullback role.
Yeah.
So, look, he dropped one ball, really. And his confidence was a bit rattled after that, but he dropped the ball early in the piece. But
which kind of just shows how good he's been going. The expectations of him are a lot higher than they were normally.
And really, when you look at their spine players, like, he's not the only one. Like the 3 others, the 3 other superstars of this team.
Munster was scathing of his performance. Yeah.
Well, it's good that he recognises that. And he's public with that. I just can't see. This is my prediction for Melbourne victory is nothing against the Roosters. It's more about the response from Melbourne Storm.
Yeah,
and those 3 players in particular.
Well, it's been an incredible turnaround for the Roosters season, and even making this point of the year has been a great achievement considering where they were. They were 14th place, I think, with 6 rounds to go. So huge effort. But then the other game, Jimmy, Saturday afternoon, Australian time, the New Zealand Warriors are taking on the Newcastle Knights. It's a final that, if you looked at the start of the year, I don't think many people would have thought either of these teams would be in this position. Sean Johnson, at time of recording, is back. Massive for them.
Yeah, huge. Look, it was clear the task of going to Penrith, the foot of the mountains, was always going to be incredibly difficult. And then you lose Metcalf, then you lose Johnson. It was almost as if, well, should we just wait for next week? Is that our best route to the final? To go all in against Penrith, which they did, but the reality of the situation is they're not. They probably won't, if they're going to beat Penrith, they need a full complement of players. So the next time they'll get that opportunity could be the grand final. So again, it's not too dissimilar to the first semi-final where the Warriors probably knew they were beaten by halftime. So they've not played a physical, mental, or emotional game for 80 minutes. The impacts aren't as great. The levels of fatigue aren't as significant as what their opposition is. That, well, it was 90 minutes. It's not even 80 minutes. And people go, oh, well, it's only 10 minutes more, but it's not the same as the 10 minutes from 30 to 40 or any other point in the game. That's an extra 10 minutes at the very end of the game when it's more significant. So the amount of tension, the emotion, yes, you get the outpouring of relief at the end, but it taxes you. And you could see at the end of that game, Charlie, you were there with us, that some of the players with the cramps, they were dropping like flies. Like there was a multitude of players that just, for both teams, that just, you could see like they could barely walk.
Yeah.
Like that, it was a grueling encounter. And for me, that's one of the main contributing factors for why I'm going to back the Warriors in this one. I chopped and changed. I really like what Newcastle have done. And my earlier tip in the week was, I think, oh no, Newcastle will win, but I've changed now because I just think that game may just be a step too far. And let's not forget, the atmosphere at this game is going to be ridiculous. It's going to be one of those where I was there. I think like home finals in such a long time. They make the entrance like a WWF.
They do it better than anyone. Like, the Warriors, their entrance is
it's very
awesome.
Americanized, but
yeah,
I kind of got to say, I think I'm warming to it. Like I don't know how I would have enjoyed it if I was playing there. Like I'm more of I like to walk. I didn't even like to run on the field, like to walk on. But when it all goes black, it's just
all the lights.
Oh man, it's cool. It's like for the greater good of the game, like you'd accept it because it's cool. And I think the atmosphere. They've got the nation behind them, and the fact that Newcastle have come off 90 bruising minutes should be telling.
Well, the game actually sold out in 30 minutes.
It doesn't surprise me.
For the Knights, I guess that's one of the big challenges is they were at home, and Andrew Johns, who's a Knights legend, was talking about how he's never seen pictures like this at Newcastle with the fans that engaged, that behind the team. He'd never seen that during his time playing there. And then...
Well, look... I know Joey's saying that, but like the times have changed a little bit where the fanfare is a bit more. You look at the Reece Walsh and what's going on in Brisbane, but there is the recency bias.
Yes, of course, yeah. But he's a Knights legend, so he would have...
I know, but everything's the best summer ever. Yeah. Or the coldest winter ever. It's the recency bias.
Yeah.
That's the best game of football I've ever seen. It's the best finals game. It's like, well, hang on.
Yeah.
Is it? It's recency bias, and I accept that, but I imagine like going back to when him and his brother were lighting it up, and Darren Albert scored that try. It couldn't match that.
Wouldn't have been at Newcastle. That would have been at the old football stadium.
Yeah, I know, but the atmosphere back in the Hunter.
Yeah. Well, what I would say this is though, whether it's the greatest atmosphere at Newcastle ever, they're going from having 30,000 people behind them to a whole country against them.
Yeah,
it's a very different task.
Yeah, it's a different mentality going into that.
Yeah,
as well. To be fair, I think the Knights do have improvement in them from their game last weekend. I thought they were, don't know if caught off guard is the correct terminology, but they certainly didn't seem to approach that game with the same level of intensity or respect to the opposition as what we've seen them in the game against South Sydney, which I was witnessed firsthand watching against the Sharks on TV. It wasn't the same.
No.
And part of me just wonders whether or not they got that reality check of like, oh, wow, we can't afford to underestimate anybody ever again. They're not going to underestimate the Warriors anyway. I think they perhaps subconsciously were mentally just a little bit away. And at this level of sport, if you're 1 or 2% down in mental preparation, anticipation of opposition, you're going to get found out, because the Raiders obviously came with that, backs against the wall mentality. They were great, but the Knights will be so much better. But I just think the fact that the game went so long, Johnson back, the nation behind them, that's why the Warriors get the win.
On Newcastle, before we move on, Jimmy, Adam O'Brien's now been offered a 2-year extension to following his contract till the end of next year, and then 2 years on top of that.
Yeah, they needed to, didn't they?
But it's one of the greatest stories, I think, of the whole year. He was literally about to be sacked.
Yeah.
And they went and beat the Bulldogs 66-0, and they haven't lost since. They've won 10 games in a row. And he saved his job. The players have saved his job.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
That's the right terminology, Charlie, that the players have saved him. What a story from O'Brien and the Knights. Credit to them to sticking to their guns, working their way through this. Because I think, like most people, we predicted he'd be gone. Well, and then now it becomes the situation where I think the Knights have had to act. I wouldn't be surprised to see the extension go even longer, because 3 big clubs, 2 in particular, the Parramatta Eels and South Sydney, they didn't make the 8 that were expected to. So before a ball's even kicked, they're under pressure for next season. And people often say about, who's the next coach to take over a big job? Well, we always talk about coaches who are available, but we forget about the ones that are coming off contract or still under contract. So, if one of those 2 teams in particular don't go well, and O'Brien's off, you could see Souths or Para going, well, we need this man in.
Yeah. And I mean, the turnaround of Kalen Ponga as well, it's just an incredible year the Knights have, because, I mean, Kalen Ponga, there was talk about him retiring halfway through the year because of concussions. And how Knights were going to manage the fact that he's the highest paid player in the game and he wasn't going to be playing, and it was painted as so disastrous.
Yeah. But well, sometimes things aren't all they're worked up to be, and crisis merchants, and we celebrate things that we unbelievable.
We dramatize,
we dramatize. It's the media. We know that, but I really enjoyed watching Kalen Ponga. He was under a lot of personal stress at the beginning of this season.
And playing with the shoulder injury as well.
Yeah, shoulder injury. He tested that out. It was good to see him with that a play in the second half where he's kicked the ball and he's chased down and put a tackle on one of the Canberra players, fielding it back from in a kick return. That was pretty impressive. And he stood up, I think, Joseph Tarpany, first half, saw him defending in the line, just went straight at him. That shoulder's going to be fine.
Well, that finals preview, Jimmy, all thanks to Tui's. How do you feel?
I feel like a Tui's.
Or 2. Great beer to have while watching a finals game.
Absolutely.
I had a few post-game on Friday and a few post-game on Sunday as well. It was fantastic.
We did have a couple.
But a story that I'm interested to pick your brain about, obviously you spoke about the Jack Wighton biting incident with Brandon Smith on Tuesday's show, and obviously you've had your own experience. And I mean, the first thing I thought about was Jack Wighton's got 3 weeks. Was James Graham hard done by when he got 12 weeks in 2014?
I don't know, Charlie. I don't know. I moved past it.
Maybe biting's not as big a deal as it was,
Yeah, just have to crack on, don't you?
Crack on, yeah.
Just get on with things. I mean, I don't feel hard done by whatsoever. And Jack getting 3 weeks, is it fair? I mean, Proctor got 4.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Proctor's was more of a clearer bite, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, Jack Wighton's in a spot now where, people are going to bring it up and mention it.
Yeah.
I was in that awkward spot at the commentating with Dan and Gordy.
Yeah, it was good fun. It was good fun. They both sort of glanced at me while it was happening.
I know. And I know that it's happening, and just kind of go, all right, when are we going to we're all sweating here a bit. Let's, you got to clear the air.
Yeah.
Because fundamentally you just have to, I think, like most things in life, make a joke out of them.
Well, I think if you own anything in life, it's easier to deal with. You can't really criticize people if you own it, can you?
And also, mate, you just make a joke out of things eventually.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't laugh at yourself, then who can you laugh at?
Yeah.
Especially on a Sunday show. I'd be quite hypocritical if I couldn't laugh at myself on what's it called, Sunday Simbin that we do with Dobbo and Hoops and Gordy Tallis. So yeah, if I can't laugh at me, then I'm screwed.
It's tough for South. Obviously, he's going to miss 3 weeks for them because he's not part of the rep duty as well.
That's the big one that way with Souths. He misses for Souths because I'd sort of made a prediction earlier that I believe Walker will go to 7, Wighton may go to 6. Obviously, Lockie Ilias is his form has been up and down, and he's still a young half learning his trade. But the very fact that Isaiah Tass, who's a top quality centre, hasn't moved for next season, sort of tends to suggest he's going to be playing. Because if you're Tass, you're going in saying, "Hang on a minute, why have you bought this guy?" And then, I think there's a bit of a different reason behind that. But now, obviously, with a plan for, and this is just pure my thoughts, a plan would be do an off season with Cody at 7, Jack at 6.
Yep.
First 3 games.
One of them be Vegas as well.
One of them be Vegas, but the first 3 games, then can you do that? Knowing that your first 3 games he's not going to be there. It's a tough predicament for Jason Demetriou if that was his plan.
It is. The thing about Vegas is there's a little positive for Jack. He'll go over because they'll want him to connect with all the guys. He gets to go over there as a man who doesn't have to play. So he gets to go for a man who can just purely enjoy himself in Las Vegas. I guess. It depends what... depends if the Rabbitohs let him do that, but that's what I'd be thinking if I was Jack.
I like your thinking. I don't know if Souths will or the NRL. Because that's, in all seriousness, like looking ahead to Vegas, like that's the shit yourself moment. Like, or the big concern. Like the last thing they can afford is something to go wrong. And obviously we've seen, the incident last week with Valentine Holmes. It's like, the game's going so good, it's all positive, and then the stuff with Val happens and the stuff with Jack, and it's like, oh, we've got this negative spin, it's finals. But look, it's good that the NRL have moved quickly on Jack. That gets settled now, sort of like it's forgotten about almost. Won't be for Jack and his family, but the NRL public, it's not on their radar. The Val Holmes thing, it's sort of quieting down.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is, the Val Holmes thing. It's hard for them. He's not going to get any, like, how do they prove that it's not a stitch up? That's the
not,
issue.
Yeah, he's not been named in the Prime Minister's 13, which had this not have happened, I think he would have.
Yeah.
So...
That's a punishment in a sense. I mean, maybe the club will impose some sort of fine. It is what it is, isn't it?
And you can't prove anything. Obviously, the optics of it don't look fantastic. But, I think the story is it's a prank gone wrong, a bit of a joke gone wrong. So, I mean...
Yeah, make of it what you will. Yeah. It's not something I want to talk about too much.
But what I'm saying is like, NRL go to Vegas, real good news story. Like, what they don't want is this to turn into like Player X in Vegas controversy, because that will overshadow it.
Yep.
That will be there. Do you remember Vegas, or wasn't that the time when this happened to Player X? It depend. Do you know?
Well, the NRL they will come down hard on any players that get in trouble over there. And I'm sure that message will be sent to the players before they go, that you're there to work, you're there to promote the NRL. And if you do anything wrong, we are going to be coming down on you.
All right, knowing.
When you see the bright lights of the strip, you're rolling in. Maybe they're just in convertibles driving down.
Just goes in one ear, goes like that. When you're at you're in Vegas, you're like all the words of Andrew Abdo, Peter V'landys, your head of football going to be ringing in your ears. I mean, yes, but then
I'll give them a piece of advice. If you are going to stay in hotel rooms, just wear clothes. Don't sleep naked, because it's not a nice experience being naked in a hotel hallway. I can tell you that.
You're coming to Vegas, I assume.
I am going to be there.
Triple M. So if that happens to you, it would be like, Triple M staffer
Yeah.
in drunken
NRL media.
NRL media sensation Charlie Wighton, drunken night out shock horror, found nude. And, at 3 a.m., you're in some quiet hotel in Brisbane. There's maybe no one just knocking around, but 3 a.m. Vegas, it's different
busy.
kettle of fish.
It is, yeah.
Different kettle of fish. There'll be plenty of people.
Well, I'm now sleeping with underwear every time I go to a hotel, just in case. Maybe even fully clothed. I might wear like a button-up shirt and jeans just to bed every time now at a hotel.
You've had a big night if you wake up in your clothes.
Yeah,
That's a sign of oh, geez, how have we got here? We're going to take a quick break from the podcast to tell you about AG1, the daily foundational nutritional drink with all your needs in the one place. I like to look after my health, and AG1 takes care of that for me. No more tablets, vitamin pills, all the health, nutrition I need, all in the one place. Every single morning, it's as easy. Open up the fridge, scoop of AG1 in a glass, cold water, stir it with a fork, drink it. It tastes great, and it helps me know. It gives me the peace of mind that all my nutritional needs are taken care of, all in the one drink. It really is as simple as that. And also, anybody that knows anything about health benefits knows that it comes with adding simple routines to your day. It's not about magic pills. They're not going to work. AG1 helps me be the best version of myself by having this new habit of every single morning having that drink. I know my nutritional bases are covered thanks to AG1. A lot of athletes are now taking AG1, and with 75 high-quality ingredients, it's no wonder why. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/buy round. That's drinkag1.com/buy round. Check it out.
But, Jimmy, the Raiders, Jack Wighton season's over. The Raiders season's over. So let's talk about them. Let's put the Raiders and the Sharks on the hoist.
The season review for the Raiders, the game against Newcastle, no one gave them a chance. They were just there to make up the numbers. Is there a better team with the underdogs tag than the Raiders? I don't think there is. Then before the game, no one gave them a chance. Then Puru goes down with a HIA after 3 minutes. Ponga sets up Marju in the first 10. And then, they find a way to fight back in despite the adversity that they were under. So credit to them for the performance in the finals. I think you look at how they got there, the for and against minus over 100, which sort of speaks volumes. They were the experts at winning those close games. Unfortunately, they couldn't win the close one when it really mattered. And even on that game, they had the chances. They had 2 shots at field goals. The one from the scrum, I think they could have executed a little bit better. Perhaps go a bit deeper, or even on the first instant, Fogarty find a pass to someone in support, but it wasn't to be. But I think that the Raiders, they got some work to do in the off season. They really do. To bring some of those games where they got lapped closer, and then use their strength in those dogfights, getting the victory. That's what Ricky Stewart will be aiming to do, because unfortunately they got lapped far too many times.
I think the issue for them is they're losing their best player, though, Jack Wighton. Josh Papali'i is a year older, and Jared Croker's retiring. So it's kind of this new era emerging.
Yeah.
The young stars haven't emerged
I don't
in
know.
those
That
positions.
Timoko
Timoko's a great player.
weapon.
No, he's a great player. He's great. He's been around for a few years now.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to replace Jack Wighton in the halves?
But the thing is, though, Jack Wighton wasn't playing
No,
halves.
I know, but they needed for all he's leaving. He's off to England next year. So you got to think, who's going to partner Jamal Fogarty in the halves? And also, the one positive thing for the Raiders long term is they've got Joseph Tarpany locked in until 2027. So one of the best forwards in the game is going to be in Canberra for the next 4 years.
Yeah, that's a huge coup.
Yeah, but Jamal Fogarty from November 1 can negotiate with other clubs. And he's going to have a lot of clubs in for him.
Oh, he'll have plenty.
There's so many. There's a shortage of halves.
Yeah,
and there is. So many clubs
and he's a very, very handy player. How they replace White, I don't know, Charlie. It's they've got some cash to splash down there, I think.
Yeah, they've got money for sure. Because Croker's come off. He was on big money.
Yeah, it's just whether they have, and whether you like it or not, they have traditionally struggled to attract the big name players.
Yeah.
But it's going to be Ricky Stewart, what he does, he, looking from afar, taps into the identity piece of we are Canberra. No one fancies us. No one wants to be here. Like people, this perception, no one wants to be here. The connection to teammates taps into all the advantages of the Raiders. They all live close together, tight knit bond, all that sort of stuff. It's just whether or not they can, get some results, because there's been a few times this year where they've been lapped and beaten badly for a team that played finals. And the reason no one gave them a chance. It was clear. There was evidence to back up those cases. Now, Ricky Stewart fired back a little bit, but you can still understand why most pundits, fans, people with opinions didn't fancy them. And then for the Sharks, Charlie, they're in a really interesting predicament. I think they got too much of the same, and they need to make a call. I love Dale Finucane and I love Cameron McInnes, but I don't think you need both of them.
Well, they're both contracted for a couple more years, though.
I know, but you telling me there's not 5, 6, 7 teams that don't want one of those two?
Yeah, I think Cam McInnes will have a lot of suitors. I think he's on 550. I was reading today online, whereas Finucane's on 750 for the next couple of years. That's big money for an aging forward, with all complete due respect. No,
I agree, and Cam has that versatility of being able to play dummy half and 13. Yeah. But I just don't think but both of them need to play at least 60 minutes. So there's a 40-minute overlay where they're both on the field. So they're both on the field for 40 minutes. Plus, then you've got Brayley. Then you can only have one of Braden Hamlin-Welle, Toby Rudolph, Jack Williams, Royce Hunt on the field.
Yeah.
So that's difficult to manage, and I just think that and again, this is not anything against. I love those two blokes so much. Like I love my time with them. Obviously, they're both friends of the show as well. But I just think the club needs to make a call, because invest the money that you free up from one of them and then put it into an area that you feel you can make a difference with, because the criticism has come of Sharks in the big games. Sharks in the big games, that they've lost 3 finals games in a row now, or both 2 at Shark Park, 1 in Sydney. I can't remember where it was.
Well, mate, they've lost 8 of their last 9 finals games since they won the premiership in 2016. They've lost 8 of 9 finals games.
Yeah, so that's an issue. But obviously, on recent history as well, the 3 of the last 3, then they lose the experience of Wade Graham. They've got really good players who are all a bit samey, if that makes sense. Like, you got, even do you go and for as really good, top quality NRL players that Trindle is, that Connor Tracy is, that Will Kennedy is, like, they're probably not in that upper echelon. I just wonder if, like I say, they free up some money through, one of those forwards that they can't have on the field all the time, and put it into someone like a Jerome Luai. Like, is that the option?
Well, the hard thing about their salary cap is Moylan's got another year to go. Kennedy's got 2 more. Blake Brayley's got 2 more. Nico's locked in for, I think, 7 years or something. Trindle's got a couple more years. So there's not a heap of flexibility there. They do have Toby Rudolph and Hamlin-Uele, who can negotiate with other clubs from November 1.
Well, I think you've got to keep you've really got to keep those two.
But Toby Rudolph might have a lot of union interest because of his Scots College background.
Yeah, I mean, look, or do you go, okay, well, we're going to have the balance of the pack with Royce Hunt, who was fantastic. Rudolph has been, he was quality on the weekend, and Hamlin-Uele, that is just that huge body who's emerging to be a top quality forward as well. So they've got some decisions to make, and you can't keep them all. But I don't think it's a massive overhaul. It's at the Sharks. It's just a tinkering with it, and look to bring in some real polished performer. But you've got to sacrifice for that, and it might be the sacrifice of, okay, we're going to lose we're going to lose Braden Hamlin-Welle, but we're going to keep Royce Hunt.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get one of those two go. And then we're going to maybe let Kennedy go or let Tracy go. And then we can put, another $1 million plus player a year to complement Nico Hines. That's just me hashing out ideas.
Well, I've got an idea for you. It's not my idea. It's Anthony's idea. So I'll give him full credit. But Cameron McInnes, he can play dummy half. Parramatta Eels need a hooker. He goes to Parramatta, Cam McInnes, and maybe Sharks get back one of Junior Barlow, Regan Campbell-Gillard, or Ryan Madison.
No, because you don't. That's not what they need.
You don't think they need a forward like that?
No, they've got enough forwards that work.
Enough forwards with the firepower to match the other teams. You reckon?
Yeah, I do.
Because a lot of teams sort of go through the middle against Cronulla.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I just think it's probably the last class pass.
Well, okay, what about just unloading Cam McInnes to Parramatta? And that's frees up 600. And they'd gobble him up, surely.
Yeah, or Brayley,
You want to give away Brayley, would you?
No, I'm not saying. Well, it's, a team could look at it and go, all right, well, we want Sharks might go, we're not moving either of those. We need those for standard.
But Blake Brayley could be a future Origin hooker. He's quite young.
But you've got some big decisions to make. But what the Sharks probably can't afford to have more of the same. And this is just us talking. I imagine the conversations at club level they are looking at that. If there is one team that need a dummy half, Parramatta, that could be either of those two that they go in. Like say Cam McInnes, if he is on 550, I'd be paying him way more than that. That's a bargain.
Yeah, especially at a key spine position as well.
Yeah, and he'd be incentivized to go to a team that aren't that far away.
Yep.
As opposed to maybe, like I even thought, like the Dragons would come back in for him. They need a dummy half, but then I think the Dragons are a little bit further away.
Yep. Well, Jimmy, that's probably almost us done then for today. Before we go, though, we've got to do Rockbusters.
Yes, a little refresh. Go on, Charlie.
The one for you, the top of my field, and I'm the top in the world.
You're the top in the world.
And I'm the top in the world.
Top in the world.
Top of the world, sorry.
Top of the world.
Yeah, sorry.
So top of the world. Like Antarctica?
Nah,
cold?
don't think like literally top of the world.
Oh, I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm on top of the world.
Yeah. I'm on top of the world.
Hey.
But that's not song isn't related.
Feel good.
Yeah, well, what are you if you're on the top?
The best. Not Bradman best.
Yeah, Bradman best. Top of my field, Don Bradman, greatest ever cricketer. Top of his field.
That is fucking...
And best.
I don't like to swear on this podcast.
Why don't you like to swear on this podcast?
Because I'm trying not to swear as much in my vocabulary.
Why is that?
Just a number of reasons.
Fair enough. Yeah. But just trying to be a good role model for your children, are you?
Just talk. Sometimes it's unnecessary at times to swear.
Yeah, fair. Fucking fair enough. And the one for the
mate,
one...
hang on a minute. Like, top of the field. Like, who's the top of the field? But the cricketer of all the things.
The top of my field. So I am the cricketer. Don Bradman, I'm the greatest cricketer of all time. So he's the top of his field.
How was an Englishman gonna draw that conclusion?
No, but you just got to think, top of my field. Like, I mean, it's meant to be challenging, isn't it? You're not very good at
Charlie.
this. Last week, the one you gave to me, cut it, smashed it straight for 6, first go, Dejan Arce. Anyway, the one for everyone at home, I've made the same mistake. I've forgotten to buy the sausages. Which I'm drawing a bit of a bow on this one as well. So I hope everyone at home gets it. But
all right, well,
I've made the same mistake again. I've forgotten to buy the sausages.
Right. Good luck, listeners. You're going to need all the luck in the world to get that, I feel.
Tui's cap as well.
All right. Thanks for listening to the latest edition Midweek Matters, everyone. We'll catch you next week.